Hi, Kyle from Interfidelity here at the show Newport 2014. I'm in the Mr. Speakers booth with Dan Clark, and he's going to tell us about his Alpha Dogs. Hi, Dan. It's good to see you.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure.
So tell us a little bit about your Alpha Dogs.
Okay, well, the Alpha Dog is the world's first 3D printed headphone. It's a planar magnetic headphone design, and we love planars because they just have such a uniquely natural sound and voicing to them. But what's special about this is we manufacture the enclosure using 3D printers, and that lets us create a double wall with a matrix inside, so you get a tremendous amount of isolation. You also get a very rigid cup that doesn't resonate or ring like a bell, so it keeps the transients very clean, and it lets us make the world's first closed headphone that really sounds like a high-quality open headphone. And the product includes some nice features like nice lamb leather ear pads, so they're super comfy, a strap that distributes the weight so it feels nice and easy on the head, dual entry removable cables, so you can put in aftermarket cables like these. I'll give a nice little plug for Nordos here, these beautiful Nordos cables. The headphone was designed to have a nice clean sonic signature. I personally am a big fan of acoustic music, but I also love electronica, so I tend to voice the headphones with acoustic music first, make sure it sounds really nice when I'm playing jazz or a string quartet, and then scale it out to maintain that sonic integrity all the way through the deepest bass notes of something like some Book of Shade.
And one of the really interesting things about these headphones is they start out life as a Fostex T50RP, which is how much are the Fostex regular headphones?
You can get them on Amazon for about $130,
right.
$140.
And this Fostex T50RP has been around for ages and ages and ages, and it's okay sounding, but what's amazing is how much better the drivers could sound, and the Alpha Dogs have really come along. I mean, the quality is just amazing considering where it starts from. That Fostex driver must really actually be pretty good.
It was a delight working with it. It's one of those things where you don't know where the journey's going to take you.
Right.
I started as a hobbyist on HeadFi, just being excited by some of the work that some of the old pioneers like Smeggy and other people did on getting Fostex mods on the market, and he did some beautiful wooden products, etc.
Yeah.
But I tried to innovate and make our own sound to it. And what kept surprising me was that the more effort I put into it, the better the results came out of it. And I ended up with a headphone that, I honestly never would have envisioned when I started the process that I could have taken the technology this far. So kudos to Fostex for finding a way to make such a brilliantly cost-effective, high-quality planar driver.
And it's been around forever.
Yeah, they started making this incarnation of it in the 90s.
In the 90s, yeah. And as many of you know, I like my sound a little bit rolled off and polite on top. One of the cool things about these headphones, well, first of all, they really are sounding pretty darn terrific, and I think they are wonderfully neutral at this point and good sounding. But for me, I need them a little more polite, and Dan's thought of a way for people like me to get my own sound signature out of the headphones.
Yeah, the inspiration for it actually came from tube rolling on amplifiers, and I was inspired by a Cavalli amp that I own, the liquid glass, which he did a beautiful job of setting it up so you can use octal tubes, 9-pin tubes, different heater voltages, different filament voltages, and I thought, why can't you roll your headphone to tune the sound in the way you want it?
Sure.
So we built two features into the headphone that let you dial the sound in. The first is this little vent here, which is accessed with a hex wrench through this hole up here, and that lets you adjust the bass. So you can dial the bass in and get a couple dB of extra dB of bass out below 150 hertz if you'd like a little more slam. The other thing we did are these, which we call doggy treats. And
doggy treats?
They're doggy treats. And you gotta have fun.
Sure.
And these simply slide into the ear pad like that, and they tuck right under it. You won't feel them when you're wearing the headphone. And when they're seated, they reduce the treble above 4 kilohertz by about 1 decibel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just enough to soften it up a little bit. Some people like to put 2 in, which will bring it down about 2 decibels. For me, that's too dark. I personally usually like it with 1. And it gives it a nicer, or a different tonality.
Yeah.
And I think that's really nice because I've discovered that when I show this to people, about 40% of people like it with no disc, about 40% like it with one, and the other 20% do prefer it with 2 discs and bring it down to what I'll call a dark headphone.
Yeah, I liked it with 1 disc in. I thought that 2 was probably a little too dark, and that without it was a little too bright. But what a wonderful and cool thing to be able to roll your headphone a little bit and to do that. So great job in innovation just all the way around. There's some spectacular stuff there. Yeah, really, really terrific. All right, well, thanks, Dan. I really appreciate it. And hope you get a chance to try some Alpha Dog soon, and they're pretty cool. And there's also the Mad Dog. Just flash that one over there.
So we have 2 Mad Dogs.
Oh, 2 Mad Dogs now.
Mad Dog, which is our original product.
Right.
And that's the 3rd generation. Oh, that's a Mad Dog Pro. And the new product, which is the Mad Dog Pro. And the Mad Dog Pro is a hybrid design. We took the 3D printed baffle technology from the Alpha Dog and put it in our classic Mad Dog headphone. And it lets us get a headphone that has a bigger bass sound and a warmer tonality like the Mad Dog, but it opens up the sound stage and gives it a more detailed sound that isn't as detailed as the Alpha, but it's definitely kind of right in between sonically.
Well, folks, Dan is a perfect example of if you love something enough and you follow your passion, you can certainly make things happen. Dan's done a really terrific job of firing up his company, Mr. Speakers, and thanks so much for being in the community, Dan. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you for being in the community.
Well, you're welcome. All right, folks, we'll see you at the next booth.